there are other statements, but the one that I can think of, Constable Zungu, because he even identifies them in his statements that this is the person that is referring to in terms of the pictures. So identify a picture of accused 3 and referred him as, I think, the surname Butelezi, and I can go to his statement. So I'm saying there was no dispute as to say the name, even though there's a Butelezi surname, but the person that is being referred to is Mr. Mngube, who is accused number 3.
Now, one of the reasons that you also mentioned was the issue of DNA evidence, and you read the report in respect of the people that were in the house. You remember that?
I do remember that, my lord.
And that report excluded the house as donors of certain areas that were swapped. Remember?
I do remember that, my lord.
What about the accused persons before court, from accused 1 to 5? Does DNA link them to the 26th of October 2014?
My lord,
according to the report of...
yes, I'm going there. I'm just trying to find the right words, my lord, because when I tried to venture into this aspect during the evidence in chief, it was greatly objected by by Mr. Mnisi, because I was actually going to accuse 3. So I'm trying to find the ways as to how should I actually answer the question, because my answer will be saying the report, my recollection of the report made by the police, the captain who made the report was an expert, excluded, at the end of the day, he says he's excluding some of, all of the accused. However, my lord, because, and this is the part that I'm saying, when you read the report, you must read it in its entire context. You can't just select the last portion and ignore the person, what he's saying about. Somewhere above, he links some of the accused in terms of what he can read. The only difficulty is that he could not find all the markers, all the certain markers to make a conclusive finding. So I was dealing with it in that context, but as I said, it didn't sit well with Mr. Menesi and I think Mr. Mshololo in terms of my expertise, but my reliance really was what is contained in the report. So I'm not sure whether you want me to take it further on this instead. And I was saying this, my lord, in the sense that, for example, when you are looking at the investigation, if, for example, we know even the fingerprints, you need to get a certain regions of it, to make a conclusive finding. But if you have an individual where the expert says, I can only get 4, but that 4 can be read into a suspect or the person that you're looking at. In the purpose of the investigation, you cannot ignore that person because you've got guidance, but it does not mean you are making a conclusive findings of the fingerprints. Same with the DNA. There are, for example, accused number 5 is completely excluded, complete in my recollection of what that report says. But it says certain things that the examiner find with regard to other accused, and that's where I was at, my lord. And I think it's the same position with accused number 1, my lord, that in my recollection, the report did not find any, even if it's not complete markers, any with regard to accused 1. And that, my lord, it's in support of the investigation, because the investigation indicates that accused 5 was outside. He was the driver of the vehicle, and I'm saying it's alleged in terms of the investigation. And accused 1 was standing outside, so he could have not left anything. It doesn't matter how small or big, anything, because there would have been a contradiction. So there is a collaboration in that sense. But as I said, the markers and the issues that the 2 advocates had a concern about is what I wanted to go into, but it wasn't sitting well with the defense. Yes, my lord.
Brigadier, the bottom line is that the DNA expert that came here excluded all 5 accused persons because there is a certain minimum and maximum that you must meet for you to include persons as donors of a DNA sample. So all 5 of them were excluded, and it's not up to you to interpret that evidence. He testified at length, going through every single marker where there were points of commonality differences, but the bottom line remains. He excluded all 5 accused persons before court.
No, that's not how I understand the investigation is done. And like I said, that's why I left this part, and I think the state advocate also, we moved away from that part, but now I'm being asked a question about it. That's not how I understand the investigation is being done. If a person, my lord, I'll make an example, make a statement to say I was robbed by this and this person, and at the end of the day, he gives you the context where he was, what was taken, whether it was male, black or white or colored, but at the end of the statement he says, I cannot identify those people. That doesn't mean the crime didn't take place, and that does not mean because he says I can't identify the perpetrators, you must now forget everything that has been mentioned about. That's not how you do investigation. There are certain pointers, and if those pointers, no matter how small they are, points to some of the accused, it becomes collaboration evidence. I'm not saying it's a fact because we're not an expert on it, but it's a pointer. It's the same, for example, with what is contained in Mr. Ramosepele's client's confession. When he says I was with accused 1, 3, 4, and 5, it's what he says. It's not a fact. We needed collaboration evidence to prove indeed that there was such man. So it's the first part. It must be corroborated for a conclusive finding to be made at the end. And this assertion, my lord, does not mean I'm saying the statement links them. That should not be misunderstood. I'm not saying the expert says their DNA is conclusively found. I was basically referring to what efforts or steps I took in my investigations, what guided me. Yes,
and like Advocate Munisi correctly said when he stood up on this point, it is not your opinion, Kenneth. It's the opinion of the DNA expert on this point.
My lord, I think we are on the same page and we're saying the same thing. As said, I am making this submission does not mean I'm saying the expert was wrong in saying what he said. I agree with his conclusion. I'm simply saying above, if you look above what is contained there, what it says. That's number one. But number two, I do recall, my lord, that DNA, it's a mixed DNA. The donor of the second DNA was never found, which is a female, to make a conclusive finding. That's what I seem to recall during my interaction with the expert, or our interaction. But there is no dispute, and such must not be created, my lord, as if I'm standing here contradicting the expert to say he is wrong. I understand the report that is written there, and I agree with it. But I'm simply saying, on top, he indicates certain markers that were not good enough for him to make a conclusive finding. So it's not, in essence, my lord, a complete exclusion. That's what I'm saying. It's where somebody says, I've read this 0. I've read this 0. There are certain markers, but unfortunately, they were not enough for the expert to make a conclusive finding, my lord.
Okay. And then you also referred to the AVL report for the motor vehicle driven by Longwe Twala.
Yes, the tracker. I think it's a tracker. Yes, my lord. The tracker system, correct, ma'am.
And in that context, how does it say that the relevance to there being intruders or no intruders?
Well, my lord, we know the cell phone, the missing phone, the phone that was in the same tower, including with Longwe, prior to the commission of the incident, that after Longwe with his car and his phone tower, the number that he gave, goes to Phoenix, that phone goes to Muleleki. So if Longwe was the shooter, you would then expect, and if this was a fabricated story of the so-called missing phone, you would have expected, and I said this, my lord, to see one of the people in particular, because we're talking about Mr. Longwe, going together with the so-called missing cell phone, or the phone remaining behind. So the essence of the AVL was to show, or rather the tracking system, my lord, was to indicate that it was moving together with the cell phone and it went to the clinics. Contrary to the phone that was in the tower that was alleged to have been taken, which went to a different direction. And we could not find evidence as to who was there, because the people who were in the house all went to clinics. So people in the house are sitting at the clinics with the deceased, my lord. The phone is sitting at the last tower of Muleleki. Then the question is, who is in possession of this phone if there were no intruders, or at least one person, because the phone cannot work on its own. So that was the essence of that submission, my lord.
Okay. Now, let us move closer to these events now. And then we start with, you've made reference already to Exhibit BB, that is the identity kit with which you say you confronted accused number 2. You recall that?
I recall that, my lord, yes.
I'm going to request that it be beamed so that we all can see what we are referring to. My lord, I'm waiting for my Leonard colleague to connect to the monitor.
So in the meantime, we keep calling that cell phone a runaway phone.
Yes, my lord. It's basically the phone that belongs to Miss Kelly Kumalo, the 072 number.
But does it actually belong to her?
Yes, it's a cell phone, my lord.
And the number was also identified by Kenneth Stein and the other gentleman.
Yes, yes, but she also identifies it on her statements that it's her number, and it was, yes, no, it is identified. It's identified that it's one of her cell phones that she disclosed to the police to say I had 2 cell phones, the 072 number, which is alleged that was taken by the perpetrators, and then she remained with the 082 number.
So common sense or logic tells us that there must be forensic evidence before 8 o'clock, going this way. There must be forensic evidence that that phone, the runaway phone, was inside the house.
There is forensic evidence, my lord. There is forensic sit in there together with the other cell phones.
Yes.
But not only just her cell phones, with the other people who were in the house under the same location.
Okay.
After the incident, then you have these different directions, my lord.
I hear you.
Okay, we do have Exhibit BB on the screen.
Yes, my lord.
Now, if we look at the depiction of the sketch on the left, I did ask this question before to, I think it was Sergeant Meyiwa. Is that photograph as well depicted with that sketch on the left with the hairstyle of dreadlocks, according to what you can see there?
No, it has a hoodie. Are you referring to
Yes,
the person on the left-hand side, on my
Yes.
left? No. The person with the hoodie is on the right. I mean, sorry, with dreadlocks, and the person on the left is wearing a hoodie, my lord.
Because I'm looking, if you can be given the pointer so that I can show you the parts that I'm referring to. I'm not open to this. What a better profile.
Yes,
Yes, if we point, you
Yes.
see on the, yes, those parts, and also on the left-hand side.
yes,
Do you see those parts?
yes, I do.
Yes. Are those depiction of dreadlock style, or is it just a background?
My lord,
You can,
I think it will be difficult for me to say for the fact. I think I don't want to mislead. I do see that there's some blackness showing up there, but I can't say. It's more clearer here where you see the dreadlocks. So one can say it looks like it's part of the dreadlocks or the reflection of the picture. I don't know, because I was not involved in this, my lord. That's the difficulty I have.
okay, I'll revert back to Exhibit J because this is Exhibit BB. And then,
Sorry, my lord, sorry, Mr. Ramosepele, to say something because it just came into my mind, my lord, that and obviously, maybe let me not disturb your line of thought. I'll come back to it later because I think I might distract where you're going. It's fine. I'll come back to it later, my lord, but I want to say something about this picture.
and your testimony is that on the 18th of June 2020 and at Carltonville at Sibanye, when you spoke, interrogated, interviewed accused number 2, you then confronted him with this ID kit and you told him that the person depicted on the sketch depicted on the left bears a resemblance to him.
Yes, I did say that, my lord. My lord, what I forgot to mention, perhaps let me just deal with it. This is the part I was saying I want to deal with it later. I didn't mention it in my evidence in chief, is that when I was during the profiling process of the accused, obviously the ID, the age was determined. Now, when I made this assertion that I think this person looks like him, what I was also taking into account is that his ID number, in terms of the description given by one of the witnesses, he described the person with the hoodie. He described obviously the color of the hoodie, which I will get into. That's the person who's about 25 years old. Now, if you look at the age of accused number 2, and you count backwards to 2014, it takes you exactly to 25 years. And that was described by one of the witnesses. It's Mr. Makaleni. We dealt with him. Mr. Ramosepele took me through when he was identified. He made a statement, but also when he was interviewed on the statement of Warrant Officer Steenkamp. We dealt with it last week. He says this person with the hoodie is 25 years old. He also mentions the measurements. I don't recall exactly as to how he says this person, how tall he is, my lord. But he further mentions the issue, the color of the hoodie that was worn by this second intruder. In other words, the person with the, not the second intruder, rather the person he saw outside wearing the hoodie, because he mentioned more than two people. But what is of importance is the age, which corresponds with the accused exactly. We can count even now backwards. It will take you to 25 years in 2014 when this incident took place. But furthermore, fast tracking now to after the 18th of June 2020, my lord, to the time when I interviewed Constable Zungu, and he subsequently submitted a statement. In his statement, he clearly indicates that at the hostel, and it's contained in his statement, accused 2 was wearing a black hoodie, which was described at the crime scene on the 24th. He says he was wearing a black hoodie. He changed to a different hoodie of a different color. But when he came back, or when he saw him, the hoodie was wearing is black in color. It's contained in his statement, my lord. My recollection, my lord, is that also I seem to recall that the description in terms of the height given by Mr. Makaleni was about 1.8. What I'm not sure of, and I can check during the long adjournment if there is any report or is contained in a statement of Colonel Mangena, because the exact measurement of how tall he is, this is now accused 2, was established by Colonel Mangena during that exercise of trying, but that I don't recall, my lord. But Mr. Makaleni's one, I do recall that he estimated him to be 1.8. So one will have to see what Colonel Mangena says in collaboration of that. But the hoodie, the age, my lord, fits in. So the essence of this submission, my lord, as I said, when I confronted with him with the similarities, I forgot to mention that I was also at that time, because I knew how old he was, that he was fitting in terms of the estimation of the age by the neighbors who saw him, who alleged that he saw someone wearing the hoodie back on the day of the incident, my lord. Yes, ma'am.
Brigadier, let me put this so that we are not misunderstood.
Yes.
I read to you the contents of Exhibit J as they are. I did not take you through the description of Makaleni for the truthfulness or non-truthfulness thereof. I was simply reading the statement because I am aware, as you've already told the court, that Mr. Makaleni is deceased. So there are issues with Hearsay Evidence Act that must still apply, and the state did not apply for that evidence to be led in terms of Section 3.
As the court, please note, there's a legal proposition. Once you put a statement on record, you are saying, my lord, that it's not in dispute. You consciously put hearsay evidence on record. If you put hearsay evidence consciously on record, you cannot later on complain that it cannot be admitted. That's what my learned fact did. We therefore submit, my lord, that the proposition that is being put to the witness now that this is hearsay evidence is not correct, since they themselves put that on record.
My lord, that aspect is that way because I can tell this court.
What?
I can tell this court that Amanda Steenkamp, who compiled Exhibit J, it is my intention to call her during our defense.
Yes. I think you're talking at cross purposes. He's quoting a legal principle, your brother, Andoi.
Yes.
And concerning putting hearsay evidence.
It is. I'm very well aware that if I solicit hearsay evidence, it's then admissible.
Yeah, right. That's what he's talking about.
Yes. So we're going forward because remember my follow-up question to this Makaleni after the description given to Ms. Steenkamp. I asked you whether Makaleni was one of the persons that were in the house or was it somebody that was just simply passing in the streets?
Yes, I do recall that question being asked, my lord.
Ngiyakuzwa-ke lo mbuzo ubuzwa-ke ukuthi-ke ingabe uMakeleni omunye wabantu ababesendlini noma kwakuwumuntu nje owayedlulela emgwaqweni.
And the reason I was reading that statement was twofold. One was to show the description of the firearm provided by the people in the house, and secondly to show that the people in the house themselves, to Mrs. Steenkamp, none of the people described the features, the height, the length, anything to Mrs. Steenkamp. Those were my reasons. So the description of dreadlocks, golden insert, 1.8 meter in height came from Makaleni, who's not the person that was in the house. That was the purpose I was showing. I was reading Exhibit J.
No, it is correct, my lord, but one also must understand on what context was Makaleni called in as a witness. If you read his statement, it indicates that he was passing the Kumalo's house, that was the scene, and he saw people who were sitting outside, which he took note of. As he was coming back, I think from the shop or from a certain walk, he saw some of these people running to the opposite direction. And then later when he get closer to the Kumalos, that's when he was informed that these people who were running were involved in the shooting. So that's the context. That's why the investigators focused focus on him because he was able to identify the alleged perpetrators outside the house before the incident took in, before they went into the house. That's how his statement was taken. So it was in that context.
So there's a witness who speaks about a garage. Is that the same gentleman? Same persons at the garage.
Garage. No,
remember that.
No. This one speaks to them. He places them around the case.
Who says he saw some people at the garage?
No, I think gas station is the way
Gas station, okay. Hey, madam.
It's that witness. It's the same. It was not a witness. It's the same person, my lord.
Yes, but
Like the Americans.
no, but they refer to electricity mini substation.
Yes, I was reading the record pen. That's why I can. Yeah, you see the doctor there. There's evidence about a gas station or a garage. Anyway, this two people went to a garage or a gas station, etc., etc.
Yes,
You don't remember that evidence?
it is here, madam. It's not evidence. It is description by Makaleli.
Yeah. Okay, fine. You heard me. I recall that. So, what's it is?
Now, Brigadier, you were saying that you confront accused. Sorry.
So the just ask if you can just ask them to lower this thing since they say they can't.
Yeah, you see, it's centrally operated.
Yeah, but today,
You want them to switch it off or what?
today
Maybe just-
last night, but even physically myself, I'm suffering because I'm directly under this vent.
Okay, yeah, if you can lower it to, I don't know.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah, okay, fine.
So, Brigadier, you said on the 18th of June 2020, you then confront accused number 2 with the ID kit that we have spoken about. And in response then to say to him, this person bears your resemblance. He says to you, this is a case of mistaken identity. I've got nothing to do with the offense that occurred. Is that the answer that you gave, you got from him?
Not verbatim, but the essence of it, he was saying it's not him, my lord. That was the essence of the response.
Manje ke Brigadier nge-18 kaJune 2020 ukhuluma naye ke umsolo wesibili uthi ke na ke lo muntu lana ke uyafana ke nawe uthi ke yena ke cha akusiyena wenziwe iphutha akanalutho lokwenza nesigameko ayingalawo magama kodwa nje wathi yena cha akusiyena lo.
Now, just to clarify the point that I think Advocate Baloyi objected on, and and that I said to the court that I understand that if I elicit a statement of a witness myself, that he authored and commissioned, it is acceptable. But the difference I was trying to make at the time was that the description of suspect B, what warrant officer Steenkamp says he got that description from, it's from Makaleli. So I'm not actually reading Makaleli's statement. I'm reading the description as provided to warrant officer Steenkamp. So it's a separate issue from the A90 something that was deposed to by Makaleli.
Yes, it is separate, my lord, but you can't deal with warrant officer Steenkamp's statement in isolation of the people she was interviewing, because she tells you, she basically interviewed everyone who was in the house, and she's telling you what they're saying, my lord.
Except, of course, that Makaleli was not present in the house on the 26th of October 2014.
Yes, he wasn't, my lord, but his statement is very clear, even on that interview, that he saw the person he was describing at the gas station outside at the mini power station, my lord.
And I'm going to go back to Exhibit J, page 5 thereof, and specifically deal with that aspect of the witness, the fifth witness that was interviewed by Ms. Steenkamp during the compilation of the identity kit. And I'm going to read again. It says, the fifth witness, Mr. T. Makaleli, residing at Nzamo Section 3942, compiled the face of suspect B. He saw 3 unknown males in the vicinity of the gas station, busy on the cell phones. He saw them again at Kelly's mom's house. Suspect B stood at the gate. He gave the following description. African male, 25 years, 1.80 meter tall, slender build, medium brown complexion, clothing a black hooded top. Witness saw a golden insert in upper teeth. Hairstyle is dreadlocks, facial hair is mustache and beard. And then witness saw something in his hand that could have been a firearm. Witness could not describe the rest of the faces.
Yes, my lord.
Now, this paragraph and description ties in with what I asked you earlier when we were looking at Exhibit BB, the person or the sketch on the left with a hoodie. And I asked you to point at the left and the right side of the face to ask whether that was also the insertion of dreadlocks on that sketch ID kit. Remember?
I do remember, my lord.
Now, regarding and take this fact, Makaleni is the only person that gave the description of suspect B, or the second so-called intruder, right? At warrant officer Steenkamp's ID kit compilation. I'm not speaking about any other statement. I mean, when this ID kit was compiled, Makaleni is the only person that gave the description of suspect B.
My lord, if I can just have a second, I just want to check something, a second or two.
I can quickly assist you. The first witness is Ms. Kelly Kumalo. If you look at the last 2 sentences, she says, Ms. Kelly Kumalo could not describe the second suspect. Do you see that?
Yes, I do see that, my lord. That's exactly where I wanted to go in terms of describing or could not give the profile. But as I said, you take this in relation to the statements as well, because in the statements, as much as they are not giving marks in terms of the ID kit that was compiled by warrant officers Steenkamp, but they do indicate more or less how the second intruder was. But insofar as the compilation by warrant officers Steenkamp, yes, we're in agreement. They didn't say it. But insofar as their statements are concerned, they do give an indication as to how the second suspect was looking like and what he may be carrying around. And the end of each sentence, my lord, by warrant officer Steenkamp, just to be more precise, for example, with the second person, or maybe let's start with Kelly. She ends by saying she could compile the fake. Okay, no, let me leave it. It's not a question. The second one, my lord, by Zandi, she says she could not describe the second suspect.
Okay.
And then the other one, which is Tumelo Mazala, the last sentence, he could not compile the second suspect.
Okay.
Now, the third one by Mr. Twala says he could not describe the second suspect. And then Makaleni obviously then does, my lord. So that's what is contained. But the essence, there was a suspect, a second suspect. But she as an expert, she was looking for marks that she could get from them in order to compile an identity. So she's saying they could not, that's my understanding of it, they could not give her tools or information that will allow it to compile, not the non-existence of the second suspect. That's why the referral is very clear that they could not give information insofar as the second suspect. So there was a second suspect and she wanted to get the features of the second suspect. The only person who could do that, I think accurately for her, was Mr. Makaleni, my lord. Yes.
Now, the importance of this, and I'm going to emphasize, for the purposes of compilation of the ID kit, which is meant to assist the investigation with regard to putting out there in the public an image or a sketch of the potential people that entered into the house on the 26th of October 2014. The people that were in the house could not identify unique features to Ms. Tienkamp so that she can compile also the search of the second suspect?
Well, according to Mrs. Warrant Officer Steenkamp, that's what they say. But as I say, my lord, if you look at the statement disclosed by them, they try to give features of how the second suspect was like. But insofar as Warrant Officer Steenkamp, yes, it is clear that she's saying they didn't give description marks.
But importantly, Makaleni adds two features that the people in the house never referred to. The first one being a golden insert on the tooth and the dreadlocks hairstyle for the second suspect.
Yes, I saw that, my lord.
And as a passerby, Makaleni manages to see a golden insert from suspect B when he's outside of the house.
That's what is contained in the statement, my lord.
And then, as a result, you, as the lead IO, when I say you, I mean as the lead IO, you follow up on the descriptor that is given by Makaleni. Is that correct?
No, I followed on the resemblance. That is why, my lord, I said, when I confronted accused 2, I said the identikit that I see, in my view, that person looks like him. So it wasn't insofar as following what Mr. Makaleni, it was based on my observation, my lord. My lord, the court will also remember that there was a time when we dealt with a dental examination.
I'm coming to that, Brigadier. Let me
as I wait. Okay.
Let me do Brigadier.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You had ample opportunity to be led by my learned colleague, Advocate Baloyi. At this stage, it cannot be that the tape is wagging the dog. The dog must wag the tape. So you take my lead.
No, I don't think that's accurate, my lord. We are here to assist the court.
No, then let me do my cross-examination. If I need you to elaborate on the point, because you go off a tangent, I forget what I was asking you, and you give so many explanations. Let us stick to my cross-examination. If you want to elaborate, ask me. The court has already said it's not going to block anyone from explaining to this court. But just ask me, because you tend to go off tangent, and I'm cross-examining. Some of the things escape me because of your lengthy explanations.
My lord, I'll try to follow what Mr. Ramosepele is saying, but the court needs to take note that what I was trying to elaborate on was emanating from the question that was asked to me about the description given by Mr. Makaleni, which Mr. Ramosepele indicated that I followed that to the T. So Mr. Makaleni, my lord, one of the things that he mentions there is that the second suspect has a gold teeth incision on the upper lip. So my response was, it was not coming from anywhere. There's a description given which says the second person has a gold incision on the upper part of his teeth. So naturally I was going to the explanation of saying, what did I do to follow this explanation given by Mr. Makaleni? That was the question that was put to me, my lord. But I hear you. Yes. I'll try to be short where I can, but where I need to explain, my lord, Mr. Ramosepele must also bear with me, because I'll give answers insofar as the questions that are put to me.
Perhaps
yes,
to contextualize this, accused number 2 instructs me, and he has already told this court, he was arrested on the 16th of June 2020 by both Sergeants Mohani and Mabel. You are aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware, my lord. And my lord, sorry, when I say I'm aware, I'm referring to the arrest insofar as the Nongoma case, not for this matter, just to be clear that our understanding is not misunderstood.
And then on the 17th, he was taken to the Pretoria North South African Police Services on the 16th. And on the 17th of June 2020, accused number 2 is then booked out of from his cell by Sergeant Mohani Mabena. They take him to the boardroom and instructs me as follows as to what transpired in that boardroom. He is asked why he cut off his dreadlocks. He is asked about the presence or absence of the golden tooth that he had. He is further asked about tattoos that he had.
My lord, I was not there, so I think it will be difficult for me to respond to it.
I'm coming exactly to that. Now, accused instructs me, the persons that were in that boardroom were the following. It was yourself, it was Sergeant Mabena and Mohani, it was Sergeant Mohola, and there was a gentleman who was wearing braces, the pants braces, and that on that day, over and above the 3 items that I've said, he was questioned about. He was also made to take his tops off to look whether he's got tattoos. And do you know who says that? He says the person that was doing that interrogation was. It was you.
No, but my lord, that's not true. And I think I dealt with this aspect during the trial within trial, that I did not see accused 2 on the 17th. The only time I came across him was on the 18th, when I interviewed him, and subsequently we followed the alibi that says he was at work. There is no way, my lord, I would have met him on the 16th and don't document my interaction, because the purpose of me meeting him was in relation to this matter, nothing more. So if I had met him, even if to even throw a wider blanket, my lord, even if I had an opportunity to meet him on the 16th, the first opportunity when I come across him, I would have asked him about this matter based on the evidence that I have. So there is no way I would have met him on the 17th, ask him about this matter, and not make a follow-up and don't document it. It's not true. That's why I indicated, my lord, what he told me, honest and openly, in terms of my interaction with him leading to the confessions.
Interestingly, I like your answer there. You said, had you met him on the 16th, the first opportunity that you were going to ask him was to ask him about 63610 of 2014. Why not ask him about 16310 2018, the Namwalba case? Because that was the case for which he was arrested. According to your testimony.
Yes, that's exactly what I said, my lord. But I think maybe Mr. Ramosepele, in fairness to him, he may have forgotten what I said last year when we started. I said, my lord, when the names of accused 1 and 2 were brought to our attention, cold case analysis was done. Subsequent to the cold case analysis, cases were identified that are seemingly affecting accused 1, and cases linking allegations that these cases are linking accused 2. Those matters were assigned to Sergeant Mukhane to investigate. The bigger scope of case that I was looking at is this matter 636. So I assigned unrelated matters to this matter to Sergeant Mukhane insofar as Mr. Ramosepele's client is concerned. My concern interaction with accused 2 was this matter. So that is why I'm saying if I had come across him, be it the 16th, the 17th, any opportunity that I had, it would have been this matter, because that's the site, that was my interest, my lord. The cold case analysis was done based on this matter that is before court, insofar as accused 1 and 2 is concerned. And my lord, I can just add, I know, I don't mean to take wrong, Mr. Ramosepele, sorry, but I think it's important for you to take note. This was not a unique thing that was done in accused number 2, my lord. When I met accused 1, because he's the first person that was arrested for the drug dealing case, when he was brought to me in Phosphorus, I also didn't question him about the drug-related offenses. I jumped straight to this matter because that matter, insofar as the ones that were unrelated, Sergeant Mukhula was the IO. I went straight to this case that is before court, which was the same thing that I did when I came across accused 2.
Now, warrant officer, not warrant officer, is a Lieutenant Colonel Mangena, testified here. And when crossed by my learned colleague, Mr. Ngomezulu, on this aspect, your presence when measurements were taken on accused 1 and on accused 2. Warrant officer Mangena, in respect to accused 2, at first, and I must be understood because somebody jumped up. At first, he said, you were present, then after break, he came back and says, no, you were not present on the 17th when the measurements were taken by from accused number 2.
My lord, I was not present, and I was not here when Lieutenant Mangena testified, so it's a difficulty in assisting, except to say I was not present on the 17th.
And he also put this right to say, whenever I do my work, and he was referring to the taking of measurements from the respective accused persons. He says, whenever I'm doing my work, I'm in the presence of the investigating officer, but I'm putting it, that was after he now turned to say, you were not present.
My lord, like I said, it will be difficult really to comment on what Lieutenant Colonel Mangena said. What I can tell the court is that I was not there. And like without repeating myself, if I was, I would have documented my interactions with accused 2, my lord, because that was my interest. There was no way I was going to meet him and I questioned him about this matter and I do nothing. And then I shift it to the following day. It doesn't make sent to me for what purpose, my lord? Because my understanding of what transpired on the 17th, nothing is significant really. The rollout that led to the confession started, even the following of the alibi started really happening on the 18th when I was present, so I was not there, my lord. I may add, my lord, that Sergeant Mukhane was there. I know that on the 17th he was there and he's part of the investigation team.
Now we were at Exhibit J, the descriptor of the dreadlocks hairstyle and the golden insert on the tooth of suspect B, and I asked you whether you followed that up.
Yes, I did. That's the part I wanted to go to, my lord, when you said I'm saying on your
And then accused 2 on the 22nd of January, 22nd of June 2020. He was now appearing in the Kabale Magistrates Court for an unrelated matter, and after that he was taken to Dr. Tlhoko, right?
That is correct, my lord.
And in essence, what was the purpose of taking accused number 2 to Dr. Tlhoko for an orthodontist examination?
It was precisely what I was trying to get to earlier, my lord. That second suspect was described as having a gold teeth incision, and I wanted to check if indeed that is the position or not. But it was also because, my lord, in my observation on the upper teeth or some of the teeth.
My lord, I beg leave to approach accused number 2.
What's wrong?
He was raising his hand, my lord.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Yeah, I can go to him.
Thank you, my lord. That's it. And what was the result of Dr. Tlhoko's examination of the accused number 2?
My recollection, my lord, they could not find that he had a gold teeth incision which was removed, because in my observation as well when I was talking to him, my lord, there's a gap on his teeth. I'm saying it with just respect, not in the inside. So I suspected that perhaps something was there and removed. But the medical report, without quoting it word for word, I do know that the doctor could not find evidence that says he once had an incision or artificial or something that was removed at a later stage.
I now want to proceed to because we are busy with descriptions and identification by various witnesses of the persons that they saw that night. I want to go to the evidence of Tabise Mukete. Do you recall who that witness is?
I know that, I was not in court when she testified, my lord, but I know that she's one of the ladies that was sitting opposite the crime scene with a friend. I know who she is based on the statement.
And her testimony, I'm going to sum it up. She testified that she was in a vehicle outside Meyiwa's house and diagonally opposite the Kumalo household. She was with a friend, Yolanda Nota, and she was seated directly behind the driver's seat where Yolanda Nota sat with her infant child. Right?
Yes, I'm listening, my lord.
Now, as they were sitting and chatting, they heard what sounded like a gunshot.
Yes, ma'am.
And they are seated there wondering and debating whether it's a gunshot, this one saying the other. She sees a tall person running past the car. She does not know where that person was running from. Right?
Yes, my lord.
Then she heard the second shot, and at that stage again, she saw two people running towards the same direction that the first person had run, and the direction which she described was they ran towards the park, in the direction of the park.
Yes, my lord, I'm listening.
And now they're saying, we are going to die in this car. We're hearing something that sounds like gunshots and we're sitting here, let's get out. As they are preparing to get out, they hear a third shot, and they are now exiting the car after the third shot. She hears Zalile Kumalo screaming her name and screaming that Ntabi saying, call the ambulance, Senzo has been shot.
I'm listening, my lord.
And they then, together with Zandile, go inside the Mapiri house. And everybody now is frantic. Zandile said to Mapiri, phone the ambulance, they can't phone. But the essence thereof is that Zandile lives without an ambulance or emergency services being called.
Yes, I'm listening.
Now, we fast forward, and I just want to go to the part where she describes the three gentlemen that she saw passing. And that will be found on the transcripts of the 26th of July 2023 at page 38. And she described the two men as follows: the one that passed after the second shot. One wasn't big in terms of physique and of average height with dreadlocks. The other was slightly bigger in physique. And then at page 48, line 18, she states, the very one with the bigger physique had a hoodie on his head and with a hat, as well as he was taller than the two that I had already referred to.
I'm listening, my lord.
Yes, that's the first descriptors of the people that she saw. The first one was tall, the one that ran first. She just described tall dreadlocks running towards the park. My lord, let me pause here and just perhaps address the court. Earlier on during the trial, and I think Mr. Advocate Baloyi can back me up on this one, the court had asked for orientation purposes whether the photographs of the park were available. I've gone, my lord, and dug onto my disclosure, and indeed I have found the photographs. I think it's a scenic overview of the park, Zamo section, the house, the marshes, and that evidence. And I mean, the album has been compiled by a Sergeant Triple B Mulumbi, I think. So I'm not sure whether we are going to introduce that evidence and how we're going to introduce it for orientation purposes, to see when people said they turned left and ran towards the park and relative to the precinct and the streets around, what are we referring to for contextual purposes now? So
You're asking Mr. Baloyi what the colleague wants to know about that evidence. Whether it's
well, the photo album is in the other docket, the 375, one of 2019.
375?
Yes.
How did it go to do with that other docket?
As far as I'm aware.
Because there was no mention
Yes.
of this thing.
Yes, that's it's really up to my learned friend how and how he wants to use the photos.
Are they
but we are
in another docket?
Yes,
in other words,
they are in
they are not part of this docket.
No, not as far as I'm aware.
yeah, but I didn't even know where they emanated from. In terms of because I only have the album, it doesn't say which
Yeah,
case
fine.
number.
So this sergeant, where is he? Where does he live? Who took the photos, in other words?
It's Warrant Officer Mulumbi
Where is he?
of the Springs NCRC.
Are you going to call him as a witness? Hello?
No, madam, I don't intend to. I was just bringing it up because the court had previously
Yeah, I did
asked
ask.
about and the rights never resolved, my lord.
Are you going to admit this evidence, Mr. Baloyi?
Well, we for our purpose, my lord, we never deem it necessary to, to go that route. If my learned friend wants to canvass that, it's really up to him. But,
what's the law? What does the law say?
Yeah.
Because I'm told there are 2 dockets.
Yes.
And in these 2 dockets, seemingly, the charges are worlds apart.
Yes.
These gentlemen are charged with murder, attempted murder, robbery, possession of unlicensed firearm, ammunition, etc., etc. That other docket, people are charged with defeating the ends of justice, etc. I think you must address me on that.
Yes.
You don't think so? If you're not prepared, fine.
Yeah.
But here are people following 2 different avenues. And the fact is, these gentlemen here are not charged with the contents of the docket Mr. Ramosepele wants to introduce into the evidence. Is that not so, sir? But I'm not stopping anybody. If you want to go and do some research about this point, you can do so and address me tomorrow. Or if you don't want to do that research, I will decide what to do with the evidence.
No, but the fact of the matter is the evidence in that docket were taken from a certain perspective to achieve a certain goal. Hence, my lord, we didn't even think of using those photos because, as we mentioned, they were taken with a certain goal in mind and to achieve a certain purpose.
Okay, I hear you. So, what do you gentlemen want to do?
Well, if my learned friend wants to use them, he must just follow the normal rules of evidence. It's as simple as that.
Yes, sir.
My lord, can I just stand in the photo album that Mr. Ramosepele wants to refer to, my lord, forms part of the documents that have been disclosed by the state to the defense.
That has been?
Disclosed or furnished by the state to the defense.
But this is not what Mr. Banu is saying. So you say the state was going to use it in this case, that photo album?
Yes, the court pleases, my lord, because it was furnished to the defense.
Was it discovered? Wait, was it discovered in respect of case number 675/10/2014?
No, not in respect of this case. It's already on record, my lord, that there was a court order that docket 375/1 of 2019 be disclosed to the defense.
Yeah.
And that was when the contents of that docket were then disclosed to the defense.
And it was in the previous trial?
Yes, in the previous trial.
Yeah, I thought you guys said we must start de novo.
Yes.
He says it was in the previous trial before my brother Maumape.
My lord, yes, it was ordered in the previous trial. However, in this trial, my lord, it still forms part of...
Was it discovered in this trial?
Yes, my lord.
Is that so, sir?
Well, the fact of the matter is there was no rediscovery. All the statements that were discovered in the first trial were simply used again in the first trial. But the fact of the matter is, when the defense requested disclosure of the docket, they were given 63610 of 2014. Then the trial commenced before Judge Momela, and an order was then made that the contents of the second docket 375/1 of 2019 be discovered to the defense, and that's when the contents of the dockets were then disclosed at that point. So there were 2 separate discoveries, if one can put it that way.
Okay, is this gentleman still around, Mr. Ramosepele?
I haven't verified that.
Which police station is it attached to?
I think it's LCRC's place as well.
What's LCRC?
The local criminal records center.
Wait. Livingston. Wait.
Springs, madam.
Springs.
Yes.
So why don't you phone and find out? Or you must call him and ask him if he's prepared to come to court. Or I can make an order that he must come if he's still alive. Because you want to introduce evidence which is not tested.
Yes, that's my concern.
Unless the state was saying, aye. So what do you want to do, sir?
My Lord, I see it's approaching 3 o'clock. May I resume tomorrow because I was also affected by this cold front coming upstairs.
How big is the album?
It is less than 30 pages, my Lord.
Less than 30?
Yeah, it's
How do you talk, sir? Are they 100?
They're not 100.
Less than 30?
They are less than 20.
Okay. Less than 20?
Yes.
Those photos?
Yes.
So, you say you'll find out.
Yes, we will.
Why don't you do it together?
Yes, I'll speak to Advocate Valerie, my Lord.
Yeah.
My Lord, excuse me, can I just respond to what Mr. Ramosepele, because the last part, I just said I understood, but I never responded to that, the decision of Ntabising. I was just listening.
That's fine.
Yes, so we left it hanging.
So we can,
so that we can close it nicely.
Close that one and then, okay, fine.
Yes. My Lord, what I can say about the decision given by Ntabising, it is corroborated in the confession of Mr. Ramosepele's statement. Accused 2, in his own confession, says after the first shot was fired, he ran away. This is what the lady outside is saying, that he first saw the first person running away, a tall person. It is corroborated in that confession of Mr. Accused 2. My Lord, I recall that in his confession, he further indicates that as he was running out, Accused 4, because Accused 3 was in the house, according to the confession, it's alleged, I'm referring to the confession, not his baptism, that the third accused was still inside the house. Then as he was running out, Accused 4 ran in. So in other words, they were now still 2, but he ran out. And that will be a collaboration, my Lord, that obviously there was the first one that ran away, and then the 2 will have followed afterwards, my Lord. Yes, my Lord. And the issue of the dreadlocks, I think it's self-explaining. Mr. Ramosepele did mention that one of the suspects, and that person with the suspect was seen on the second grouping. The second, in other words, the 2 suspects, one of them was having dreadlocks, and according to the confession of Accused 2 is that he left the second suspect, which is alleged to be Accused 3, with the dreadlocks. And I'm saying alleged, my Lord, as per the statement, with dreadlocks in the house, and that person was seen with the second person running after the first suspect was seen. So there's a collaboration in the mind. Yes, my Lord, that's what I wanted to respond to Mr. Ramosepele.
Okay. Yes. And this is my parting shot before we take a break. I had earlier on said to you, Brigadier, relax, let me lead you, let the dog wag the tail, not the other way around. Because I'm still going, the purpose why I'm standing here, and I'm going structurally like this. I'm going to exhibit H, and JJ. I told you at the beginning. We are going to analyze those confessional statements to see whether there are markers of reliability or unreliability based on the totality of evidence.
Yeah, my Lord, maybe for the sake of smooth running, when I touch base on something, Mr. Ramosepele can just indicate that I will get there. Then we'll understand each other, because I will not know when you ask a question whether you will still visit that place or you've parked. Like in this instance, we nearly adjourned without me responding. So that is the essence of it. So we can find a mechanism to work together. So you simply have to indicate, because like I said, my Lord, my responses, as lengthy as they may seem, they are based on the questions that you're putting to me. You put a question and I need to answer it in its fullest context to assist the court, because we are here to assist the court. That is the purpose. But if you feel perhaps I'm ahead of where you're going, you can just indicate, you say we'll get the break and I'll give you that space.
So, yes, I will resume tomorrow. Thank you, Dr. Davis. My Lord, may we then take an adjournment until tomorrow? Okay, fine.
So are you going to address me, or are you going to just make an agreement between yourselves? Because I also want to prepare. I'm not the type of judge who comes to court blank.
Can you just get clarity on which aspect does the court want us to?
Whether the evidence which Mr. Ramosepele wants to introduce into this case is admissible. Unless, I know if you say you don't care, you don't object, it's admissible, because it means it's not disputed. Are you with me?
Yes, my Lord. Mr. Ramosepele has just mentioned that we will try and see if we can't reach common ground. We'll just maybe give an indication to the court as to whether we did reach common ground or not.
That's
and
all.
then if whether there's a need to prepare heads.
Okay, fine. Okay, thank you, madam. Are you available, sir, tomorrow?
Yes, I am available, my Lord.
Half a day?
The whole day, my Lord. No, the whole day I'm available.
Okay, then let's meet tomorrow at 10 o'clock.